quite a large area, and within this park, and they divided for a certain part to develop that the seedings for rice. And you could see right now it's really happy here. It also means it's the time for harvesting. So that could see that it's already ripe. So here we could see that's around 380 different kinds of rice. And this is also actually for me the first time to see this many types of rice. And this is also for the testing. So we talk about why within the same area we test so many different kinds of rice, and what's the difference between different types, and how that reached the designed goal of this experiment. And so later on we could roll out to a larger planting rice places. And here we invite Mr. Zhang to talk more with us. Good afternoon. So then this is actually, we have quite the same pronunciation of our names. So what a coincidence. And we talk about why, before we're rolling out to larger scope, and why we actually started from this place. So we work with different companies to gather around more than 300 types of rice. So we would like to really see whether that's good to plant in Sichuan province especially. So if it showed a good performance, then we could think about later on we could roll out to other places in Sichuan for larger area of planting, so that actually help us to lower the loss. Because we talk about actually after several rounds of selection, we choose the best a type of rice, the seedings, to adapt to the environment, water condition, sunshine, so that help us to really lower the risk and the loss for local farmers. So here you could see that the different plates that also have the different name on the plate. So which means this area for this particular type, and also that's have the different information related to that type of rice. So actually you could really tell the differences. So you could see that the height of the rice, and also the different stages of ripe. So that depends on different types. So you could see for on the right-hand side, that's for the later stage of ripe. And for the left-hand side one, that's the early maturing one. So we talk about this. No matter it's early ripe or later ripe, we cannot really say that's early is better or late is better. We should depend exactly on how that gets to the local condition. So for the height, that still depends on the different seedings. And also, like for some places, if you have a heavy wind, then that's maybe not really good for the higher height of the seedings. And also here we could see this is actually especially the rice for sticky rice. So that actually could think about if we would like to really produce something related to glutinous food, that could think about this kind of the seeds, rice. So usually we talk about we would like to use either the rice from northeast China or from Sichuan province. So these are the two large places to produce that the popular rice. So what's exactly the criteria for selection? So we talk about what's the list. So make sure that if we hit all the list items, then it's okay for marketing, so for the go-to-market. So for these kind of 300 taps, we have that the also our benchmark, that's the normally planted tap of rice in Sichuan province. So we talk about here is actually the planting season should not be too long because that will impact the other type of rice to plant. As it's too short, then that's also not really have that the waste time period. We have that window open for nothing planting here. So let's also think about how that better utilize the sunshine, and also we should look at that the efficiency, that how many that rice could be harvested. So for us, we think about rice. We normally just think of rice is rice. But here you could see for the very first time more than 300 types of rice. So we talk about this is quite different, right? You could see this is quite thin, and that's also depend on the size of the rice, right? So that's actually for the some companies like to choose that a larger size of rice. So anything like you recommend? So what's really the one that's really pop up to our eyes? So actually this one, you could see that this is actually quite favored by the experts. So this is quite coming to the later stage of the rape period. And you could see that the overall growth is quite nice. And yesterday, the experts believe that this could be the best candidate later on to roll out in Sichuan province. So we talk about that for, you could see really that the rice. So here we could see that you have that a different season, right? So as normally for this kind of testing, sometimes it's need 1 to 3 years. So we will have that testing to see whether that's from the lab to really the land. And also later on, it also depends on whether the local farmers would like to accept this kind of type of rice to grow, to plant. So we talk about here, we could see that the different kinds of the rice panicles, some that's really in color yellow and some still in color green. So we looking at this one is in color red or purple, right? So we talk about this kind of rice. We talk about is a colored rice. So you could see that the rice panicles, you could see that actually this is really in different colors. And this is also actually quite sticky and type of tasting. And this one, this is 8136. So you could see really the different size of the rice on the rice panicles. So we talk about this is still right now is under the experiment, so that the scientists and also the experts from the agricultural industry, they work very hard to guarantee the security of the rights of food. So once that the best candidate is selected, then later on that the seed will be largely rolled out in Sichuan province to grow. And we know that growing season actually quite long. From the early spring to right now to the autumn season. And in Chengdu, we talk about it started right after Spring Festival. And we talk about in the management of that, a planting area, actually, you need to think about, need to deal with that, the extreme weather condition. And also this summer, for Chengdu also experienced quite extreme high weather temperature. We talk about also need to think about the plant diseases and insect pests. So we talk about actually, is there any way to help the human being to put a very close eye on the plant? So here you can see this is the local experts developed a robot. So what kind of the job this robot could do here? And so we talk about this is the patrol robots. So right now you're looking at here, this is the patrol robots, and this is actually you could see on the wheel. So it have the GPS, the navigation system on the top, and also the cameras, the radar, and here you could see this is the charger, and this is the wheels, and plus RDK. So it can really drive by itself. And we have a sensor here, and also we have the cameras, and the sensor also can help us to know the overall environment in terms of the carbon dioxide and also the humidity and temperature. So we talk about look at here, it's not really move that fast. So what's the role of the camera playing here? So if you look at it here, so this is really large space. So based on a planned route, we could really to say that this is our planned route for today, and then the camera will help us to get a closer look at the growing situation, help us to get more than 1,000 pictures every day, and then up to the cloud. So at the cloud, we have that the models for the standard or benchmark growth model, and then that help us to AI model help us to do the comparison to get us know the performance of different type of seeding or rice so far. So we talk about for rice, we need to pay a very special attention to the plant diseases and the insect pests, because we know insect actually sometimes just in a very, very small size. What's the accuracy of these robots? So we talk about that code to really get a large number of pictures. And also it can get the pictures in a very short distance. So what type of that we talk about that the insect pests, actually we talk about there are the frequent pests. So the pests, actually we talk about the robots can help us to identify. So we talk about that if later on we could have that more pictures available at cloud. And so the robots we talk about with more applied scenarios, then itself also can learn. So we talk about that database. We need to enlarge the database. So that also helps to improve that efficiency of management and also the insect pest identification. So we talk about the PM 2.5, temperature, humidity, a lot of this kind of the information actually will be collected by robots. So we could get this kind of information every day by robots. So this could give to us a kind of that DA reports and also the suggestion for which area need to be careful about the plant diseases and insect pests, and also which area need further that the fertilization. So we talk about that. This kind of machine really give us that growth reports and also to provide suggestions to our local farmers. I believe that with this, the robots that could provide a really good assistant job to the local people. So we talk about, you could see within this industry, you could see this kind of facility. And this facility, we could see that in 3 parts. So at the top, that's the solar panel. And then it's the signal, the emission equipment, the projector. And also we could see that at the bottom, that's also the get the equipment into the land. So what's really that this machine to test? What kind of the testing for what? So Mr. Jiang will help us to know what's exactly this used for. So this is a digital testing facility. So this helps us to get that a full life cycle information. So this could really get us the right here, right now, what's the health condition of rice, and also help us to do that a dynamic calculation of the production of this area of rice. So this is a more data-driven facility. So we could see these 3 lines. So that's 3 the terminals. That's the 3 cables to help us to know the information. So for here on, you could see that this is to test the top area. So let us put it very simple in plain language. So you could see here for this is more to really test that the humidity at the highest place of the rice. So we talk about we have that the weather report every day, while you still need to test the temperature, humidity. So we talk about that we know exactly this area, what's the environment situation going on right here, right now. So that help us to get every minute, every second information about this area around this type of rice. So help us to get exact the weather information. So you could think about that's the macro environment or the macro weather report through this kind of equipment. So from the very beginning, when the seed planted, that's the very short, right? So with the growth situation, that we will still also be to make this testing facility higher and higher, so that we could get that the environmental information above the rice. So let's also look at another one. So this to get us to get information about that the land, or the earth information, so the soil condition. So the lands design lines around that 45 the centimeter. So we try to really to get as deep as possible to the root of the rice, so we could know exactly that's the water condition and soil condition down there. So we could really have an eye really inside the earth, at the bottom, at the root of the rice, to know exactly the growing environment there. So actually, we could get to know that the nutrient content at the root. So previously, that we just to know that, knew this kind of information reflected by the color or the growth performance of the rice, but that is really, really late. So here, if we have all these eyes and ears kind of that to help us know exactly the situation, then we could, at a very early stage, know exactly that's the nutrient situation, the water condition, the soil healthy condition, so that we could really to take more measures at an early stage. So this one, we talk about that's the consumables, and we need to change these kind of, that's the equipment at the once per year. So we talk about that really to get us to know that information. So why we need all this information, that how that will help us. So for us is that we try to really use the most important or the most relevant information to the rice, so that we could really to know that the situation, because here you could see this is the brain. So we could get all different kinds of the information here. So based on all the data we collected, so that we talk about, we not rely on one single type of data as the multiple source of data, and then by the large model and help us to do the analysis, so that you could really know exactly going on here with all these rice. And also we could rely on this to make the actions, to make sure that the rice could actually grow healthy, and also to improve the productivity of the rice. So we talk about right now, this is really the technology empowered the overall the productivity and the planting work. And we talk about right now the rice actually right now is coming to the harvest season. And we talk about, we have another group of the journalists actually also working down there in a different place. So that's also look at what's going on the other place. So we are coming to another place. This is the Yongfeng village. And Yongfeng village is also a demonstration base for the standardized the experiment place. And also we talk about that's also the place to really test the new technologies. So we talk about what kind of the new technologies that could be used to really test the productivity here. And we have Mr. Yang, that's the assistant Professor Yang from Sichuan Agriculture University. So Professor Yang will also to guide us to get more information. about this work. That's the yield check. So we talk about that the feature here is we talk about this area is not really all for the rice. Actually, we talk about that previously this land actually is used to plant the traditional Chinese medicine. So after we harvest that type of traditional medicine, and then we plant rice. So we talk about yield check. That means that's basically to get a kind of that idea about the quality of the land, quality of the rice. So you actually help us to kind of to get a rough idea about the yield. So that's the atypical part of this land. And then if actually is used the same seed, same way of planting, and then for the same area under the same weather condition, then we could get a quite more or less idea about the overall yield of rice for this place. So we talk about this is the demonstration zone. We talk about that this is actually also the testing place. So we talk about actually so the experiment, the testing, we start here. So we also talk this is the pilot area. So this pilot area actually is quite large. We make sure that we reach the testing standard. And for the seeding, actually, they already selected from the previous round of testing. And then we actually to roll out to plan a larger space here for the further larger area testing. And a lot of we talk about that for the local farmers, they sometimes quite difficult for them to choose the rice type to plant. So we also try to do all this kind of the testing and choose the best candidates that adapt to the local condition and then suggest to local farmers. So we talk about actually there are different kinds of the new types of rice and also the new technologies. So that also the new technology help us to select the candidates, and the new technology also enable to improve yield. So we talk about that the yield, that the harvest, actually we could guarantee, could be well guaranteed. So for now, we would like to choose a best quality of the seeding. So you could see here, this is the rice, the panicles, and that we not only care about local farmers, we also need to think about that the processing companies, because they also in the same industrial chain. So we talk about that we actually to select the best seeds, different type of seeding, they show different features. So we talk about that we have the planting and technology, so the local farmers actually could plant the higher quality, higher yield the rice, and also the processing enterprises actually like to buy the rice from the local farmers because they know that they actually buy it from the best quality rice, so they can produce the best rice finished product and then sell to the market. So for the local farmers, they actually use some traditional way of planting rice. So you could see this one. This is well ripened. So we talk about that it's really actually like to see that all golden color. But for rice, we talk about actually if it's all turned into gold color, golden color or yellow color, which means it's lost the function of the photosynthesis. So we talk about that rice. It shows that really gold and shining color, which means that's a good yellow, good quality, but actually it's not. We talk about if that's the leaf still in the green color, which means that the leaf still actually going through that the photosynthesis. So that's good for the rice. So this is the local farmer, Mr. Wang. So how you really judge the quality of rice. So you could see here, we really look at the rice. So how many rice on one single rice particle. And also we could see that the size and also the overall growth performance. So this is actually quite a successful pilot. So it's always this kind of perfect every year? So in terms of yield, actually you could see that it's improving year after year. So it's always growing. So we talk about that it's very important that we actually do a good job in selecting seeds and also in managing a whole planting area. Because we talk about Chinese people really like eat rice, right? So this is the very important staple food for us. So for us, we also actually to take care of the rice here. So it's like our baby, it's like we put a very close eye on the growth condition. So what's your estimate yield? So I'm very confident it will be a really good yield. So we will see that the testing or the yield check could really in line with your expectation. So we will wait to see that the actual yield actually is equal to the yield check. So we talk about the machine actually ready to get a ground information. And also actually would like to really to see whether that's the machine harvests that the designated places. So we talk about the so far everything meets the standards of yield check. So the day ago or 2 days ago, we will actually to really count that the number of the rice particles. So for ourselves, we have more or less that the number of the yield, and then that today the machine actually to do harvest. And also we need to take into consideration that the 13.5% water content. So actually, we have our calculation so that we have that the area of harvest and also the number of rice that harvested. So basically, from this the area, we could get the information about this typical rice yield, and then actually to get more information to the local farmers to let them know the result of yield. So from the laboratory to the final farmer lands. So we hope that we could really to that show first to the local farmers the performance of the type of the seedings, and so the local farmers can directly know that benefit they could get if they plant this kind of seeding. So they could directly to copy everything we are doing here in this pilot area to their growing planting area. So this machine help us to get a quite roughly accurate information about the water content. So normally we talk about these kind of the equipment can give us quite accurate results. So we talk about that the error range that should be less than 0.05%. So this is the rice we just harvested. So our estimation, the water content that's around 24–25%. So that's a 24.4. So we talk about that yield chart is arranged in the afternoon, and also we look at the weather condition. So we need to take into consideration many different factors to really to get the water content information. So we looking at. So the next step is we had first finished all the harvest by machines. And then we will go to the next step. So the experts will help us to do the yield check. So we just get a certain area, so we got that samples of seed. So we talk about this area, that's really the core area for the pilot testing for the new technologies and new type of seedings for rice. And we also have another area to test and select the new seedings. And we talk about that for this area. And that's the area not only plant rice, but also to plant Chinese traditional medicine. So that's we talk about this rotating. And for another area, that's the rotating planting between rice and wheat. So that's also we talk about for the different places. We talk about it, especially for rotation. Then that's also to select a different harvest period rice. So we right now coming to our station. So here we could get as the yield check. So we will also do the comparison between that the theoretical yield and the actual yield. So we actually first to count that the available rice panicles, and then for the rice on each rice panicles, and we could to get that quality rice from the rice panicles. And then we count for 1,000 rice, and then we will test the weight of that 1,000 rice. So that's the seed weight per 1,000 grains. So we talk about that. We not just count for once. Actually, to look at it right now is counting 1,000 grains. So we talk about also we get the samples of the seedings, and also to count that the 3 times of the seedings. If the number aligned, which means that the difference is less than 0.02%, then that will be the number for this round of the 1,000 weights of the 1,000, the grain weight. So you could see that this is the number of today. So that's yield as the 847 kilogram per mu. So right now, we come to the mass time. We do the calculation. That's help us to know that the actual yield. So that's the theoretical yield as 891, and the actual yield as 887. So we could see that these two numbers are quite close. So that's quite in line with our expectation. Thank you very much, Professor Yang, to get us to know that the harvest work. So we know that of the getting samples from the planting area, and then that will also back to the station to get more information about rice, the grain, and also to really do the comparison between the theoretical yield and the actual yield. Like Professor Yang, we have a lot of that people really apply their knowledge to select the quality seedings and also apply the new technologies to improve yield and select the best seedings for local farmers. All right, we also coming to another place. Just now, we actually saw the harvest in a planting area. And here, let's get us to know more about technology. And here we have actually a big factory here. So that we have Mr. Fu to explain the story of the factory. So we talk about actually this is really we could see why we talk about this is that the plant factory. So we talk about that our hope is it's like we produce that's the Coca-Cola, we produce and assemble vehicles. We would like to use the same way to really produce plants. So that is why we call this is the plant factory. And here we could see that the vegetables. So based on my really few knowledge about vegetables, and I believe this is lettuce. So this is the seeding of the lettuce from that stage to the final large lettuce. The lettuce, do you know how long does it take? So from the seeding to the final harvest, that's around 35 days. So in the planting area, which means in the planting area for the local farmers' traditional way, that's 60 days. And if it's grow in our factory, that's around 30 days. So you could see the roots, it's very clean. So which means it's in a different planting way, right? There's no soil. Yes, so we talk about actually we use that water planting. So it's the hydroponic culture. And so here you could see that the whole factory, we talk about there's no soil, no sunlight. So we have the lighting. So we also the nutrient solution and also the control of environment. So these are the three keys for us to grow the plants here. So these are our the recipes of secrets. And so we could get a closer look of the rice and also that's the factory. Why we use this kind of like a pink lighting? So our first core technology, that's the LED to replace that neutral sunlight. So to really create the sufficient the sunshine or sunlight environment. So in the nature environment, we talk about it seems like no color. Why we use this pink, purple color? So we talk about that. Could think about that the yellow or soft yellow, white lighting. But for plants, we need to think about that the energy efficiency. Also, we need to think about that the heat dissipation. So we actually choose not just one single source of lighting. So it shows like the pink, purple color lighting, but actually we also have a bright blue colors and also some green colors as well. So you could see the LED as right and blue, that's a 3 versus 7, as 30% right, 70% blue. And we have a team dedicated for lightings, and they look very in details about that, a different kind of the light spectrum. And right now we actually could grow more than 200 plants, and we also have that the light formation the light formula here. So we talk about for different kinds of plants, we have that the light formula. So that also helps to accelerate the growth of the plant. So how about to save that 40 or 50% of the time of growing? So we talk about the plant factory. That is one of the secret recipe, and right now you could see this is around 8.8 meters high. And for that, we use the water fertilizer. So also here we talk about that's the light temperature coupling. So we could really to adjust the light and the temperature, so we should really provide the suitable environment to grow lettuce, for example. So we talk about factory, which means that it could really produce products in a large scale. And also we talk about that automation is also a key word for factory. So what about the factory here? So first you could see it's a very tall, that's the factories, that's around the 3 stories of the floors. And then here you could see the automation, 90% of the work actually is automated. So first is to grow the seedlings. So after the seedling grow, and then it's sent to the factory. And then after the whole process is to the harvest. So which means that for us, we only involved, or human being only involved at the seedling period. So that is why you could see we not really have a lot of people involved in this factory. So you just need 1 to 2 people at the seedling place or the seedling period. So for this whole building, apart of factories, you also have the other facilities. So for here, actually, we not only grow plants, we also, we also have fishes here. We call it the vertical farming building. So we talk about that for the first to the 3rd floor, that's the factory, the plant factory, and then the 4th floor, that's for the fish farm, and for the 5th floor, that's the floor for the edible fungi. So we normally talk about that the lucid, that the ganoderma is normally grow at the open space, but at the 5th floor of this building, we grow this the ganoderma at the 5th floor. So we talk about that. This is the floor for the recirculating aquaculture. And here you can see you could really see exactly going on inside. And this floor, so you could see actually the fishes. Prawn, and also you could see that exactly going on. A lot of things actually is automation. So we talk about that's the circulation about the water, and also the feeding actually is automated. So we talk about we have a different, that's a pond here. So you could see that this is really large can. And for the different can, that's for the different type of the aqua type of the animals. So you could see that this is a goldfish. And also we have that the robots. So this is also that's the patrol robot. So that could help us to put a very close eye to the situation about that the growing environment in each and every can. So we talk about that this is pond. So actually we have the paps and we have that the filters. We have a full system, the whole system. And also you could see here, right now we have a 12 pond. And above the pond, that's the track for the robots. So here you could see that. So the robots could help us to get exactly the situation at the bottom of the pond. So this is for coral fish. And then we also have that sternger. So the whole system we talk about include that the filtration of water. And also we have that the pond for crabs. But a key topic here is actually the recirculating water aquaculture. So we talk about actually that's the water from this floor that will be recycled, and then we will also to make that into the nutrient solution, and then we will also to use that nutrient solution to the plants we grow. So it's kind of like the recirculation system. So actually it's kind of like the samples, or that's the models for the future agriculture. So we talk about we actually have a lot of that different functions and technology involved, that we have that different teams involved, so that we hope that in the future, within the city, so the mega city, so we actually could actually fulfill that people living in the mega city, their needs related to agriculture.
好的，我们今天的直播就到这儿，请各位网友继续关注央视新闻的直播，拜拜。